So what really happened with Squaresoft? I'm just a gamer. I grew up in the 1990s playing those classic JRPGs. I fell in love with Final Fantasy, Secret of Mana, and Chrono Trigger on the Super Nintendo. And when Final Fantasy VII came out in 1997, I locked myself in my room. I emerged 3 days later, sweaty, starving, and definitely in need of a hot bath, but it felt damn good because the game was that good. I was on a quest to see the story of Cloud Strife through until the bitter end. And wow, what an amazing journey. The first Final Fantasy on the PlayStation 1, and it turned out to be just fantastic. And it would be followed, of course, by Chrono Cross, Xenogears, and Parasite Eve, to name a few. Just esoteric gems of games, unbelievable games for their time. And this trend would only continue through the PlayStation 2. It was a great time to be a Squaresoft fan. I connected instantly to Square RPGs. I felt a connection so deeply to the characters and the beautiful stories that they told. The caliber of storytelling and originality was stunning in a lot of their early games, most of them dipping their toes into such story elements such as conflict, friends, magic, heartbreak, and of course love. It's with great sadness over the last few years that we have seen the mighty Squaresoft fall under the weight of its own success. What happened to Square, and will they ever come back? These are questions I continually ask myself and sadly keep asking myself as they continue to release new games. What is happening to Final Fantasy and why? What derailing took place that so violently and suddenly derailed this one-time blockbuster developer? Who the hell is at the helm of decision making? And what if Final Fantasy 15 turns out to be shit? These are the questions I'm going to answer today in the next 5 or so minutes as I discuss the memory of our dear friend Squaresoft. On December 18th, 1987, Square released Final Fantasy on the Nintendo Entertainment System for the American audience and the Famicom for the Japanese folks overseas. But the story starts for me in 1991 when I picked up Final Fantasy II. That's 4 for my Japanese friends. I got it for my birthday and I had no idea what it was all about until I popped that sucker in my Super Nintendo. And like most people during that time, I was flat out mesmerized by what I experienced. I don't think I had ever seen a world map before, nor multi-character, turn-based battle systems, or detailed menu systems, or this much dialogue or story before. These were characters I became completely invested in. There was so much to read, so much going on. Where do I go? What's next? I kept asking myself what's next a lot during these games. I would turn off the game and wonder what was next, pacing back and forth, and rushing to get through Mama's lasagna dinner so I could bolt back up the stairs and play some more. It wasn't a perfect game, but its flaws could easily be overlooked due to how high quality the total experience was. Why were these games so memorable? Take a look at your screen right now if you're not. It's all because of this. When you develop your own ideas and you publish your own game, you've got complete creative freedom. When you want to make another game, you can utilize that to continue to innovate with building a sequel based off an already successful game. You're not swapping hands, you're not having someone else bark orders at you because they have a stake in your company. You can stand behind your own decisions and validate them based off the performance of your game. And that's exactly what Squaresoft did in the early years. And a little further down the road, you have Square releasing great games on the PlayStation, including Final Fantasy 7 through 9, Vagrant Story, Xenogears, Chrono Cross, from the nebulous tale of betrayal between Sephiroth and Cloud in Final Fantasy VII, to the playful yet extremely fun Save the Princess from Certain Doom Final Fantasy IX. Everything leading up till 2001 looked very promising for Squaresoft. So what exactly happened to this success? Something else is creeping in the backdrop, ready to unleash doom for Squaresoft's success. In 1997, Square LA, which was the official name for Squaresoft North America at the time, opened a giant film studio in Honolulu, Hawaii. The studio, extravagant and brand spanking new to boot, set Square back $48 million and accrued an annual net expense of $16 million to operate. It was a beast, and the goal was to create Final Fantasy and other computer animated films for mainstream release. So what did Square pop out of their first shiny new tropical island studio? Final Fantasy Spirits Within was birthed by a partnership between Square LA and Columbia Studios. The budget was set and finalized at $138 million, a massive undertaking of advanced CG, Hollywood budget, voice acting, and long-winded story arcs. Codenamed Final Fantasy the Movie, Square is quoted as saying, Final Fantasy the movie will be a realization of a dream to create a brand new form of entertainment, uniting computer games and motion pictures using the latest in CG animation technology. And yes, it sure was. However, only a teeny-weeny problem happened. Nobody went to watch it or buy it. In the end, The Spirits Within only banked $85 million of total sales, totaling in a $53 million loss in that single movie. Add on top of that the cost of the studio and the 5 years of operating expenses, and you've got a $100 million fuck up. And not surprisingly, Square's Hawaiian movie studio bankrupted a year later and sent 125 unsuspecting employees to the unemployment office. In the aftermath that followed, 2 events took place that would set in motion a transformation for Squaresoft. Its identity would be compromised, and its creative freedom would be tethered like a lonely dog tied up outside. Firstly, and later on in 2002, Hisashi Suzuki, head honcho at Square, agrees to let Sony buy an 18.6% stake in the company to recoup 16.4 billion yen, or about $137 million. But 1 month later, Suzuki stepped down as CEO from the company. And what became of Sony's influence on Square down the road? They ended up selling all their shares in the company later on. And secondly, and really the nail in the coffin, Square merges with Enix in 2002, and poof, Square Enix, our old buddy, is born. The deal is reportedly worth a staggering 93.2 billion yen, that's 764 mil in cash and stock. This is the Square Enix that we know of today, a company that was built on pillars of such amazing principles and ideals, twisted and transformed into something else entirely by Enix. And they got their dirty paws onto everything, starting with the debacle that was Final Fantasy X2, followed by the insultingly linear Final Fantasy XIII and Lightning Returns. And let us not forget about the release of Final Fantasy XIV, the game that had to be remade. Yeah, re-fucking-made into an actual playable game. It's downright embarrassing. And can we let the single-player microtransactions in Tomb Raider or the augment your reality pre-order bullshit and Mankind Divided slide? How about Square Enix's bad business practices of continually releasing shitty games, half-assed PC ports, or cash grab re-releases? And oh boy, do not get me started on Final Fantasy VII re-release on multiple discs. I cannot stand for that. And now we wait for Final Fantasy XV. I'll say it now, and I've said it 100 times. Square, this is your last chance with me, but I'm optimistic. I will give you this last chance to bring me a true Final Fantasy game. But with you sucking at Enix's teats, with the doors slammed shut in those high-rise Japanese corporate offices when no one's looking, I'm just not sure that I can trust you. Don't let us down, baby. We all want you back. Please come back to us.